Hi, and welcome to another Suddenly Comics video. Today I am going to be talking about the issue of comic aging and comic deterioration over age. Effectively, comics are what is called ephemera. So they were not designed to be long-lasting and to last forever. They were originally items that were created to be thrown away, like newspapers. So what you will see in a large number of older Golden, Silver Age and Bronze Age comics is that as they get older, the pages, both the cover and the internal pages, go a brown color. Eventually, this will become brittle, and then on touch, it will fall apart. Now, clearly, as comic collectors, this is a bit worrying. We don't want this to happen to our comics. So to understand how to slow down this process and possibly halt it, we need to understand what are the causes of this aging. The majority of older comics up to the late 80s, beginning of the 90s, the paper stock used was made from what's called mechanical pulp. Now, mechanical pulp is effectively wood that's chopped up to free up the cellulose fibers, and then it is treated with bleach to make it look white. One of the important things to note about mechanical pulps is that when the paper is made, the fibers still contain lignin. Now, lignin is the inner wall of the wood fibers. In better quality papers, the lignin is removed. However, this of course makes the paper more expensive because you remove about 30% of the total fiber, and therefore the fiber yield is much lower. So consequently, if you are making cheaper papers, then you use mechanical pulp and you leave the lignin in. And it's also bleached. So this type of paper is good for cheap papers because it's good for printing. You get good print adherence. What it's not good for, though, however, is aging. So this mechanical pulp paper stock is naturally acidic, and the acid in the paper over a period of time breaks down the cellulose fibers and also breaks down the lignin. This process is cyclical because one of the components of the breakdown of the lignin is acidic. So the degradation is self-propelling. So if we want to preserve our comics for the longer term, then we have to do something about the acidity of the paper and about the acidity that is released from the breakdown of the papers, from the breakdown of the lignin, sorry. One of the things that comic collectors have done for a number of years, and I did it myself over 20 odd years ago, was use a backing board with a neutral base which was not acidic, and by putting the coated paper behind the comic. Not only did you give it some rigidity to stop any creasing, but also the alkalinity or the base in the backing board would have some effect against the acidity in the comic. However, quite a lot of these older backing boards were mechanical pulps which were acidic, and they were purely coated with a neutral coating. And what happens over time is that the acidity in the comic and the acidity in the rest of the backing board destroys the neutral coating, exposing the acidity of the backing board to the comic, and makes matters worse. So if you look at some old comics that you've had up in the attic for 15 to 20 years, like I had, and you take the comic out and look at the backing board, you will often find that the backing board is as discolored as the comic. So what you need to do then is remove the old backing board and replace it with a modern backing board that is calcium carbonate buffered and is tested, is independently tested to be acid free. So not only has it got a coating on it, but the base of the paper has got calcium carbonate buffering in it. And these are the boards that you should be using for backing your comics today. And if you've got any old comics in storage, then you need to get them out and replace the backing boards. There's a few other things we can do to help prevent the acidic deterioration of our comics. The first one is the method that was developed by the US Library of Congress, which realized that it had thousands of documents that were aging and were not going to last into the next generation. So they developed a de-acidification process whereby they sprayed the documents with effectively with magnesium oxide in a solution. When sprayed onto the papers, the magnesium oxide will eventually become magnesium hydroxide, which is slightly alkaline, and this neutralizes the acidic effect being generated from the paper. You can't just buy magnesium oxide and dissolve it in water because it is insoluble in water. You need to dissolve it in specialized liquids, and these are expensive and specialist. You can, however, buy de-acidification spray. I've got some here. And you can find details of where to get this de-acidification spray on the Suddenly Comics website. That's suddenlycomics.com. This spray for 100 mils costs around £30 to £35. And therefore you need to use it sparingly, and I've used it on my more valuable comics. There is another method you can use, which is cheaper than the spray, but it is used by CGC when they put comics into a slab. They use what's called a micro-chamber interleaving paper, which is a paper that is made from 100% cotton and contains something called a zeolite. If you place a sheet of this interleaving paper, I generally put a piece in between the front cover and the first page, between the back cover and the back page, and also a sheet in the middle of the comic. These zeolites effectively will grab any acidic gases or acidic particles from the microenvironment when you've got the comic sealed in a mylar sleeve, and significantly reduce, if not stop, the deterioration of the comic. I hope that has been helpful. For those of you who are wondering what on earth the picture is behind me, it is, of course, of paper fibers. Thank you. I hope you enjoyed this video.